Alrighty folks, welcome back to the channel. My name is Botox Games, and today we have a myriad of different Switch 2 rumors to discuss. First up, we have another leaked photo of the Switch 2 dock, and we have some information on the type of charger it will be using. We also have some more information from Next Handheld on when we can hopefully expect the reveal and release of this console. And then finally, we have what is almost certainly fake, but I want to talk about it anyway. We have a very in-depth rumor about the potential OS for the Switch 2. Someone who is claiming to have seen the Switch 2 OS a couple of days ago actually referenced the mouse pointer controls in their post. So now people are going back to this post and kind of saying like, well, wait a minute. They said it would have pointer controls or whatever, right? Maybe this user actually has seen something, and they say some pretty wild things about some of the software features that the Switch 2 might have on deck on launch. But that is what we're getting into today. Of course, if you are new here and you enjoy Nintendo Switch 2 speculation, theories, discussion, rumors, I would appreciate you subscribing, but let's get into it. Okay, so first up, we have a new photo of the Nintendo Switch 2 dock, another pretty zoomed in photo with some blurred out information, but it's coming from none other than Laura Kate Dale. If you remember back in the NX days, Laura Kate Dale was a pretty prominent leaker in that time. She had her fair share of misses, but she also, I believe, was the one to straight up leak Mario plus Rabbids, I want to say, or was one of the, people really pushing that rumor, and of course that ended up being true. So Laura Kate Dale is a name that you will probably be familiar with if you're around during the NX days. She tweeted this out on X or Twitter, I guess, saying, "This is a new photo I have received from a trusted source showing a Switch 2 dock featuring visible input and output voltage information, other information obscured. In addition, I have learned that the Switch 2 ships with a 60-watt charger for use with the dock." And here's that photo. I mean, let's not pretend like this is the most interesting thing in the world. We've seen the Switch 2 dock at this point. I did see before this image was posted, there was another thing about like, oh, the Switch 2 dock that's leaking is missing screws, and here we can see those missing screw holes. But I mean, this lines up perfectly with what we've heard. The new information here is that it will use a 60-watt charger, and that's pretty important because if the Switch 2 is using a 60-watt charger, that means the current generation Switch chargers, the one that come with your Switch, the Nintendo brick, those may not be suitable for powering the Switch 2, at least when it's docked. You'll probably be able to use it to charge it in handheld mode, but if you're happy that you have all these USB-C Nintendo branded chargers laying around, I believe those are 39 watts, I want to say, whereas the Switch 2 will apparently be 60 watts, so you won't be able to use all of your extra Switch dock chargers with the Switch 2, so that is unfortunate, but it's still nice to get another look at this console and have some glimmer of new information to talk about. We also had this new post from Next Handheld. If you're not familiar, if you're new here, Next Handheld is the user on Reddit who initially was posting leaked images of the Switch console itself, as well as the Joy-Con. They were the first person to mention that the Joy-Con will be black and blue and black and orange, so Next Handheld seemingly does have their hands on an actual retail Switch unit or some sort of Switch 2 unit. Maybe it's a prototype. But what's hard to pin down with Next Handheld is whether or not we can conflate that with them having like actual other information, because they said a lot of stuff. They said there was going to be some sort of a Switch 2 bundle with a game with a 9 in the title. A lot of people think that's Mario Karts. And back when they were doing all these postings in December, they had said that they heard a January announcement was going to happen. They had talked about a meeting happening on January 10th or 11th, and that it would release in March or April. Now, usually what happens is when we get closer and closer to that deadline, people will back down. We see a lot of insiders like back down. It's like, oh, well, I was wrong. I'll take the L on that. Next Handheld actually doubled down last night, and they said here, "I've just heard January announcements and both March and April for launch, more based on supply chain and distributors' secondhand info, though." I get being very skeptical of Next Handheld. I totally get it. However, I do think it's funny. I see so many people posting about this saying like, oh, well, we can't trust Next Handheld. Next Handheld's info isn't trustworthy. That very well may be true. Next Handheld's information that he's sharing through text might be fake, but the photos are real. That could be possible. But I see so many people saying like, oh, we should not trust Next Handheld at all. He has no reliable information. If I were to trust somebody, I would trust the person who has held and has physical photos of this console before anybody else over someone else just claiming to have heard something. To me, it feels weird to completely write this off when this is someone who leaked the console. I mean, this person leaked the console. So while this information here might not be accurate, it's certainly worth talking about more than a lot of other leakers and insiders, because this person has done something pretty big in terms of Switch 2 leaking. So I wanted to throw that in here. They are doubling down on a January announcement and a March or April launch. A lot of people think that's too soon. I said in my predictions video that I think it's coming out in March. That's probably not true. I'd say it's like a less than 10% chance at this point. But April, if they announce it in January, April could certainly line up. Next Handheld also shared some more information on the whole like mouse pointer controls that this console may have here. Someone said here, I've heard about some kind of gimmick with the top of the thumbsticks. Do you know if any of that is true? And this is all back in December. Next Handheld said, there's a special orientation you can use the Joy-Cons that's unlike before. Not sure if that's what this refers to. So even though it doesn't seem like Next Handheld was sure that it was, going to be the mouse Joy-Con setup that we're talking about now, even a month ago, or, just about a month ago, Next Handheld was kind of referring to some sort of new control input method with the Joy-Con. Ravry replied to that yesterday saying, my liege, are you able to tell us if this special orientation is referring to the mouse leaks that are going around? And Next Handheld replied, yes, but devs can answer this better as they've seen some minigame demos that I guess would be best described as Mario Party / WarioWare-esque in nature, where you control a snake, but I personally haven't seen it in action. Now, I mostly wanted to use this as a jumping off point to talk more about the mouse con, because I didn't go too in-depth in my initial video. The more I have had time to think about this, the more the possibilities are running in my mind. In that video, I talk about Mario Maker, maybe Art Academy coming back, but if Nintendo really implements some sort of, mouse input method with pointer controls on the Switch 2, and maybe they don't make it like a mandatory control method, right? You can still use the touchscreen, you can still use a control stick. This just adds so many possibilities, though, and it's just nice to have another control method. This works for every game. This would change every game. Maybe some people would have an issue that it might give some players an unfair advantage, right? Like, I wasn't even considering that. Well, this could be used for first-person shooters, right? Like this could be used for Splatoon or even Call of Duty when we get it on the console. The Switch does support a keyboard and mouse, I'm pretty sure, but most games wouldn't use it. Like Splatoon, I don't think you can use a keyboard and mouse, right? But if the mouse con is a serious control method that Nintendo is implementing and developers use it, you can imagine Splatoon. You can imagine a Star Fox game, any on-rail shooter, Sin and Punishments. You could, of course, imagine Mario Maker. I discussed that. Art Academy. You could see a WarioWare game, as Next Handheld even mentions here, a WarioWare-esque minigame. WarioWare could have an entire game based around mouse controls. We haven't really had that before. This sounds so extremely Nintendo, and it's so extremely exciting to me because while I'm okay with the Switch more or less, or the Switch 2 more or less being just a more powerful Switch, I've accepted that at this point. I want a little bit of that Nintendo flair, and if they have a mouse control option, and let's say maybe one game, like WarioWare, is the only game that actually requires it, I'd be down for that. It could also be something totally out of left field, like Nintendo Labo was. No one thought Labo was going to be a thing when we saw the IR sensor back in 2017, and then a year later, they announced Labo. But the possibilities really do seem almost limitless when it comes to having mouse controls on the Switch 2 as an option. Like I said, maybe one game like a WarioWare would be requiring it, maybe an EPD4 kind of launch title game. But for the most part, it would just be an option in Splatoon or in another FPS or in an art game or Mario Maker, right? You would still have regular control methods. I do see a lot of people raising concerns over how comfortable this would be if you're sitting on your couch. That is totally fair, and that's why it wouldn't be required for most things, I think, because there's really no way to make this work. If you're sitting at your couch, if you have a nice couch arm, I guess it could work. If you're sitting at your desk, obviously that would be the ideal scenario here, but a lot of people just would have to use it in their lap, which would certainly be uncomfortable. So we will have to wait and see, but I really hope this is all true, and I really hope we do see this mouse con gimmick make its way onto the Switch 2, even if most developers don't use it, just as a way for Nintendo to do some weird stuff, because I love when Nintendo does weird stuff, and it would be really cool. And then finally, I want to talk a little bit about the Switch 2's OS. Now, this is probably fake. I think the general consensus online is that it is fake, but once again, I wanted to use it as a jumping off point to talk about the Switch 2's OS because I haven't really done that much on this channel. But this is a post from 4 days ago on r/Nintendo Switch 2, and the reason people have gone back and are looking at it with a little bit more of a finer magnifying glass is they mention the Switch 2 having pointer controls, and a lot of people think this might be in reference to the mouse stuff that we're just talking about, but this post was made before the revelation that the Joy-Con would probably be able to be used as a mouse, so a lot of people are going back to it and being like, oh, well, maybe this person actually was cooking here, maybe they actually do know something. So this is a post from Switchboard2 on Reddit saying, I have seen the Switch 2 OS. Yes, a few devs do have a limited access, and I have been able to see images. First off, this OS is basically a modernized Wii U menu. It has 10 row tiles on display at once, which is a big upgrade from the original Switch. Animated backgrounds and menu music return. I only saw the dark mode, by the way, so we'll start right there. First of all, if this is like the Wii U menu, maybe a little bit more modernized, the Switch menu a lot of people give it a lot of flack. It's very basic. It is pretty sleek, right? And it does do the job. It's pretty snappy, I would say. Of course, not referring to the eShop here, just the actual menu itself is pretty solid. But if we get it to where there's animated backgrounds, you know, some sort of like very not non-obtrusive image in the background, just kind of animated, moving around like the Wii U was, and you have some very chill menu music, and then you also have 10-row tiles. I think on screen right now on Switch, you can see, can you see 5 at once without scrolling down, or 4 or 5, something like that? If we could see 10 at once, that would be awesome, and would pretty much mimic the Wii U situation right there. I do wonder if you'd be able to like add more, because, you know, on Wii U and 3DS, you could basically change how many little bubbles you had on the screen at one time, or at the very least, you could do that on 3DS. Wii U, you couldn't do that, which is funny. But on 3DS, you could kind of change how many rows you have. It'd be cool if you could have the option to do that on the Switch 2 as well. But reading on here, they say, you can tint your icons to change the color of them. All black and red goes hard. Surprisingly, Vidmeo is a legit application on the UI. I was skeptical of that at first, but it does seem to be real. So this is something that popped up a couple of weeks ago, I want to say. And it was basically this user, once again on Reddit, posting this little icon. This is a post from 3 weeks ago. I guess the original user deleted their post, but basically they were posting these icons saying like, oh, I've seen the Switch 2 OS. These are the leaked icons. There's this thing called Vidmeo. This is the green one here. And then people did the sleuthing, as they would do. And I mean, you can find very similar icons, but nothing that actually lines up 100%. So like right here, this would be the eShop icon. The left here is them cropping this image and searching it with Google image search. And a lot of very, very similar things come up of a very, you know, eShop 3DS and Wii U. And I mean, Nintendo has always had like the orange eShop bag icon, but nothing lines up 100%. Anyway, they're going back to the initial Reddit post here. They said no one was able to test any of the bottom applications outside of the Nintendo eShop. Apparently it gets stuck on the loading screen. The loading screen reminds me of something from Nickelodeon. There are 6 tabs on the UI as well, so I assume you can have 60 games on the home screen at once. Because of how it's designed, you can quickly scroll through your entire library. I'm genuinely happy with the layout of the UI. It fixes all of the issues when it came to finding your games. It basically solved the problem by going back to what the Wii U and 3DS did, but whatever. So yeah, a lot of people think the 3DS and Wii U was like peak Nintendo menu design, and then the Switch was a huge downgrade. And that's something that I think, like, you know, disregarding this post, let's say it's all fake, I think it's almost I want to say it's a safe bet that the Switch 2 UI maybe won't be quite as bubbly and interactive as the Wii U and 3DS was, but they're going to want to give it more personality, I feel like, just so that it's more differentiated from the current Switch. At least that's the way I see it. I don't think it's going to be quite as bubbly as the Wii U and 3DS, but I do think there will be maybe not even menu music, but like some sort of background animation, more themes, that kind of thing. Maybe the icons won't be so angular, maybe a little bit more bubbly, right? They say here in one screenshot there is a pointer that is being used to select Mario Kart, so I assume the Joy-Con may have a pointer control. So this is the thing that a lot of people are going back and being like, oh, well, hold on, wait a minute. This person referenced pointer controls. Now this could be referring to like a Joy-Con pointer. You can't do that on the current Switch, where you can like, you know, use like a Wiimote to select a game, or it could be the mouse con little idea we're talking about here. That's interesting. I wasn't even considering that you would be able to just use it as a mouse on the menu screen. I had a lot of fun as a kid. This is so stupid, but I had a lot of fun as a kid, and like organizing my 3DS icons, all my eShop games, putting them in folders, kind of organizing them by like first party or series, that kind of thing. I'm not sure if anybody else did that, but I had a lot of fun like organizing my digital library on Wii U and 3DS. If you can use the pointer controls, the mouse con on the home menu, I'll be back, man. I'll be organizing all my games by like type and first party, release date, that kind of thing. Even back on the Wii, using the Wiimote to just move the channels around. I really, really hope this is true, because I want that to come back, especially with how simple it would be to use a mouse to do it. They say here, also your username is displayed at the top left of the screen next to your profile picture. It doesn't look like the OS allows multiple accounts at once, so I assume there will be a login feature. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I've always found it weird how on the Switch, you're not on a profile until you log in, but like on PlayStation and Xbox, like when you turn the console on, you log in. I prefer that. It doesn't really make that much of a difference, but like, I don't know. I kind of like the idea of just like turning on my Switch 2, clicking on my profile, and then being in it even on the menu. That way, when you go into the eShop, you don't have to keep selecting what profile you're going on, right? It gets a little annoying because ultimately, like, yeah, I'll have, like, Olivia will have a profile. I'll probably have another profile for something else. Maybe a friend will have a profile. 95% of the time, it's going to be me logging onto the Switch. So if I could just make that default, and like permanent, that'd be kind of nice. And then to close their post here, they said, yeah, that's about it. If I'm able to, I will try to get images and share with the mods for verified proof, but the OS is definitely an upgrade over the original Switch. Like I said, it looks like a modern Wii U and 3DS menu mixed with iOS and Samsung. But if that doesn't sound good enough, going back to what the original poster said about Vimeo with the icon leak back in December, once again, they've deleted their post, but here is the actual write-up they did. They said, I don't want to share too much on how I got this information because it could lead to someone getting in serious trouble. Essentially, this will be somewhat similar to what Miiverse was on the Wii U. Users can share screen recorded content and make posts. I haven't seen it yet, but apparently the app icon looks similar to that of YouTube, but it's green. The app is designed in the style of TikTok, apparently, with a lot of vertical scrolling to view content. Yes, I am serious. There will be a direct messaging feature and community options for a feeling of social connection. I've also been told that the C button is related to the community features of this app. That's all I really know about this thing so far, but supposedly Vimeo will be available day one on Switch 2 with a stripped-down mobile version releasing sometime later. So this is, I think, like what everybody wants, basically, Miiverse to come back, but like with more video elements. And I think it would be very wise for Nintendo to pursue something like this. The only drawback I have really is that they would have to moderate it. You know, Miiverse was a freaking cesspool, man, and that was on the Wii U and 3DS, mostly as a Wii U feature, because I think it came to 3DS in, 2014, 2015. Miiverse on Wii U, even with the small Wii U install base, was kind of a disaster, but it was like a really fun disaster. I wonder how they will handle that. How will they handle moderation if they were to bring something back like this? I'm just not sure if Nintendo wants to take on that huge undertaking. I mean, that's a big deal to bring that back, but I really hope it's true because there has been a missing sense of community ever since Miiverse was shut down, and especially ever since Nintendo removed integration with Twitter through the Switch. You know, you can't even post screenshots anymore. I think you can still do it on Facebook, but there's really no way to share your gameplay or your screenshots on the Switch anymore unless you do the stupid QR code thing, and like, no one's doing that. So if we could have this Vimeo app built into the Switch 2, I'm not sure why it would be vertical content, right? I mean, if it was on mobile, that would make sense, but if you're on your Switch sitting down and your couch, you know, you're on your nice TV, why would it be vertical? I mean, to be fair, you can watch YouTube Shorts on your TV through the YouTube app, so like you can watch vertical content on a TV. It just seems a little weird, and that's going to be like their main pursuit here. But I really hope it's true that we do get some sort of more social features like this on the Switch 2. I mean, it's free advertising, really. I will say, this person kind of relates it to the C button. I realize I have not really talked about the C button at all on this channel. I haven't really speculated much on what it could be. They say here it's for like a community feature. Maybe, but my issue with that is, and with a lot of theories around this button, why would it be a letter? The entire world doesn't speak English. Why would it not be something that is more unifying, like, I mean, like the Miiverse icon? If it does mean community or even like social, why would it not be like more like the Miiverse icon or something else? I don't think that button is a C. I think it's a shape for something that we don't know. I just don't know why it would be a C, because the world is not, we're not all speaking English here, you know? So I feel like it's a shape. Everybody's saying like, oh, it's community, oh, it's chat, it's cast, maybe it's first casting your Switch screen to the dock or whatever. I don't really know. I don't have a good idea for it, frankly, because it's definitely not that, or at the very least, it's not C standing for community or C standing for chat. Maybe the button will be used for that, but I don't think it's because it's a C, if that makes sense. But if we get a modernized Wii U / 3DS OS and it has some more social features like this Vimeo thing, that would be so exciting. So while I don't necessarily think this is all true, I do think it's worth talking about as, like I said, I haven't really talked too much about the Switch 2 OS here. Someone did make a pretty basic mock-up of what that original poster was talking about here, where you have 2 rows of tiles, you have some more interactive elements, you have an animation in the background. Very light stuff. This is what I would almost expect. Some more slightly rounded corners, but still keeping that like very sleek design of the Switch menu. You have your user profile, Chris Pratt up here. This would be awesome. Add in some actual themes, a nice little background tune. You have your pages here in the top. I'm sure you'd have more stuff down here like Vimeo if that's real. But I really hope the Switch 2 menu looks something like this, with you know, some more interactivity, some more customization. You can move these icons around. I hate that how the Switch menu works is it just has your most recent game at the top. I want to be able to choose what is on my front screen. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. What do you think of all of these different rumors, the Switch 2 dock, the new posts from Next Handheld, as well as what I once again will reiterate, most likely fake, this whole general OS posts about Vidmio and all these different icon tiles. I would like to hear what you think in the comments down below. And what do you think they should do to spruce up the Switch 2 UI in general, even disregarding all these leaks and rumors? What do you want to see them do to switch things up here with the Switch 2? But until next time, folks, of course, subscribe here for more Switch 2 speculation, theories, discussion. Follow me on Twitter at BoTalksGames, and check out my other channel at It's Amiibo. Until next time, folks, peace.